Hey everyone, Sean Clement here, and today we're going to have a nice little go-ahead with the new Sterling irons. You saw I did a little review a while back, but today I'm going to do a nice review with the GC Quad, and we're going to see the difference in the distances between the short irons with a standard set of clubs and the short irons with the single length set of clubs. And then we'll bring that to the long irons and see what the difference is with the long irons. The mid irons and the short irons would be about the same. So and I've got the same thing over here with the Cobra as well. So we'll do a nice little comparison with that. Now, one thing you need to know is for certain people like myself, I don't go any lower than a 9 iron in my set, and my irons are a ½ inch longer than standard. So my 9 iron is actually an 8 iron. And so from 9 iron, pitching wedge, gap wedge, sand wedge, lob wedge, it's basically all the same distance. So I've got my gap, my lob, and my 9 iron here. And you can see they're all the same length. And just happens to be that it's the same length right here with the set I just got from Sterling, which are all 8 iron length clubs. So I don't really see a lot of fanfare going on basically with my short irons. For me, it's the long irons that I want to see the difference on. But we'll start off, we'll do a nice little benchmark with the short irons, and then we'll go straight to the long irons and see what the difference is. And it'll be very revealing to see the data on that on the GC Quad. Okay? All right, let's get started. Okay, so I'm going to do my comparison with the gap wedge. So I've got my Ping gap wedge here, which is my Glide Stealth, and they're both 50-degree wedges. So we're going to get to see the shaft is a little bit different. This is a lighter steel shaft in both stiff flex. Mine is typically dynamic gold. So I'm going to start with mine. Mine typically goes about 125 to 130 depending on the conditions. So I'm just going to do a couple of draw shots here with this. That was well connected. So 127, there we go. So there you go, total distance 129. That's exactly the kind of distances that I have out of this gap wedge. Do one more for good measure here. That was an excellent miss, just a half groove low. So basically lost 2 yards on that one. Excellent. So 30-degree launch angle, 124 carry, 128 total. So let's have a look at the other gap wedge. Perfect. So that was very flush as well. 131 carry, 132. So you can see there's not much difference there, a couple of yards. It's a 50-degree club. Nice, quite a nice feel actually. That came off really nicely. Very nice. Good solid contact, nice direction. 129. So you could see right here there is zero difference between my Ping club and this club right here. The sole of the club and things like that are going to help me perform a little bit better over here, but as so far as hitting a shot off the fairway, we're talking exactly the same thing. So let's look at a 7 iron now. In the 7 iron, the Sterling is 31 degrees of loft, and my Ping iron is at 32 degrees in the power loft mode. So The shaft now, for me, the 7-iron is getting a little longer on mine. It's a 1/2 inch longer, but it's 1 degree weaker. So let's have a look and see the difference here. Shouldn't be much of a difference. So put that right over here. And the technology is it's very similar. It's an inner cavity. The ping has got that polymer filling up that cavity for better feel. So I got my target. So little toey, not too bad. So 175, so 166 carry. That's a little on the weakish side. I'm not going to count that one. Let me bring that back to 180 here. There we go. 130 is just not going to cut it. So that's better. Thin to win, but much better swing through there. So 180 is a good miss for me with that particular club. 171 carry. That was good, nice and flush. That should make for a decent comparison. That's pretty typical right there, but it's my 180 club, so 176 carry. Okay, we'll do one more for good measure. Around red to black. All right. Yep, there it is. So 175 carry. Let's see what this 7-iron has. Because I've been surprised by a few 7-irons this year. All right. Thin to win. Nice flight. Came off well. So my miss looks like a little bit longer. 177 carry. Nothing too dissimilar. We'll look at launch and spin in a second here. Very solid. That's a keeper. Same distance. So we're looking at 179 carry. 6,300 spin, that's pretty decent. Nice launch. The launch angle is 15.6, so it's come launching a little low. Well, typical, 31 degrees. But the spin characteristics of the club are excellent. So if we have a nice little comparison here. So that one didn't count. So we're looking at carry 171, 176, 174, 177, 179 for the Sterling, a little less loft. Spin characteristics. My ping were at 7,300 when I flushed it, and the Sterlings are around 6,000. Just a little less spin on the Sterling irons, and the angle of descent here with my 7-iron is 48 degrees as compared to 45 and 46. So angle of descent is still pretty good. Now the moment of truth. Let's see what happens with the longer irons. You notice this is where it gets fun here. So you notice the Sterling iron's got that inner cavity. The ping has the same thing with the eye blades. except that they've got that wonderful polymer in there that just dampens the sound, makes it feel and sound more like a blade. And that's why the Wishon Sterling irons have a little more of a tinny sound to it. Now notice how now you can really see a significant change in the length of the clubs. So for some of you who, you get the player out there who has a tendency to really hit the short irons well, and they start getting a little more tentative with the longer clubs. It has a lot to do with length and also with the amount of loft that you have. Now, the lofts on this one are getting pretty beefy, and they don't have a 3-iron here. I have a 3-iron in my bag. It's 19 degrees in the power spec, and that's the loft of their 4-iron. So, heck, if your 4-iron is 19 degrees, I mean, that's the loft of a 5-wood or a 2-iron from a standard set from yesteryear. So things have changed quite a bit. So we're looking at 23 degrees versus 25 degrees with my 5-iron here. So let's see the difference in the length, but also I think we're going to see a difference in the trajectory too, because you're not going to get as much velocity out of this one as you would out of this one here. So let me go with my 5-iron. We'll get that back in there. So same direction, going for my draw. So well struck, nice velocity, just left it a little out to the right. So we're looking at 210, 199 carry, 210, 211. And so let's go with a little bit longer here. Let's get it up to 215. Okay. So there we go. Go 2 more. That was nutted. That was 211 carry. That's the way I like it. So 223. And that was about 4,100 in spin, about 13-degree launch angle. I don't think I could squeeze any more out of it than that. So I'm just going to go a little less on the gas here. Well, I tried. 206 carry. That was awesome. 220 total. So that was nice, smooth 5-iron. Not bad for a 53-year-old. So let's look at the difference now. And so this is where it's starting to feel a little weird for me, because I see less loft and also less length. Good strike. 204 carry. Look at that. Well, surprise, surprise. Look at that. 222 total. Well, isn't that an interesting turn of events, isn't it? Very cool. So I think that extra beef in the loft is what's making the difference here. These are really well designed. So gather. Oh, that's nutted. 207 carry. 224 total. Well, that one puts the myth to bed, and we're looking at the same spin. We're looking at 4,000 RPM, same launch angle. Yeah, man, this is pretty cool stuff. I'm quite impressed, and that's where I remember trying the Tommy Armour EQLs back in the, gosh, must have been 1988, 89. And they were all 6-iron length, and I didn't like the long irons very much, but they weren't organized in this fashion right here. So I have to admit that, you know, this product's for real, you guys. So we'll do a little comparison here real quick with, I'm going to try one of the Cobra 5-iron single length, and we'll see if it's got the same juice and the same pep as this right here. It very different feel. Wow, 225. 207 carry. Look at that. Way less spin though. So it's launching a little higher with a little less spin. You can see as far as the profile of the club that it has a lower center of gravity. See how the Wishon club is a lot higher in profile, and the Cobra has a lower profile, a little more weight at the bottom of the club. So it had a very different feedback coming off the club, but very nice as far as the flight, and it felt like everything is right underneath me the whole time. So there's a lot to this. That one I came out of. 205 carry though. It's like, come on. This is pretty cool. So 221 total. So it doesn't look like anything's stopping me from getting proper performance out of these clubs. Beautiful. Beautiful. That was hit. So 210 carry, 223 total. Spin now is back up to almost 4,000 RPM. So this is basically like your stock 4-iron, except it's got a 5 on the bottom, which is, you know, nice for the ego. So the performance itself really doesn't lend to it. Now, it'd be interesting to see. And I don't have the 4-iron with me, and we would have to compare the 4-iron to my 3-iron, apples to apples. At you know, they're looking at the loft on those is 19 degrees. So my 3-iron now is my 225 carry club, and I would guesstimate that I would have to either use one of their hybrids or something like that. So that's where you might start to veer off the single length. So for those of you who don't have a lot of time to practice and you're doing well with your short irons, that's a nice avenue to go. For the better player, taller with shorter arms, there's definitely a threshold. I can't go below, if you look at my 9-iron, 35 and a half inch longer, 36. I'm hard pressed to go any shorter than 36 inches. So, and then I feel comfortable all the way up from then on. So I'm kind of like I'm morphing between the single length and the variable length clubs. And I've played junior golf, and I really love my long irons. I don't think I could pry that 3-iron out of my hands. I've hit way too many career shots with it. Every time I step up to that 3-iron, I feel extremely confident with it. But for those of you who are struggling with the longer irons, you would have a great avenue to go right here, and hopefully, because of Bryson DeChambeau, Ping might be, going a specific route to give us that option to do single length irons. So I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did, and we'll see you next week.